table gives information about the annual car show that a certain antique car club held in an open field on the second Saturday, blah, 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 in the years 2000 to 2013. So every year it was held, right? This car show. Each car show started at 9 in the morning and ended at 3 in the afternoon. The club charged a fixed fee for registering a car in the show, 1 fee per car. So there was a fee, of course. Now, cars could be pre-registered prior to the day of the show or registered on site on the day of the show. So there were two ways. Either you could pre-register, and that is true for everything, right? When we go for a play or when we go for a movie, we can either pre-register it or go there and like buy the ticket. We can either buy a ticket beforehand or we can go there and buy the ticket, right? So similarly, for the car show also, either you can pre-register your car to be in the show or you can register it on the same day at before 9 o'clock, for example. Okay. Although the fee for pre-registering a car was less than the fee for registering a car on site, some people chose not to pre-register their cars because pre-registration fees were not refundable and they knew they would not attend the show if rain was forecasted. So, let's say if they're telling me 10 days before the car show that fine, you can pre-register and you will need to pay less. I'll think about whether I will want to pre-register, because what in case it's raining that day and if I don't attend the car show, right? Or what if the rain is forecast that day? For example, in that day in the morning, I find out that the rain is forecast today, then I'll not attend the car show, right? Then it'll be a waste. So then I might as well pay a little extra and take that risk, and not take that risk, right? That if I'll rather want to pay a little extra. A lot of people do that, that they'll rather pay a little extra and register on only on the day of the car show, because at that time they know whether rain is forecast or not, right? Okay, now for the first n car shows where n is a positive integer less than 10. So for the first n car shows, I don't know, n could be 5 or 4 or 3 or 6 something. Because it's an integer less than 10, the fees were $10 for pre-registering a car and $12 for registering a car on site. So pre-register is $10 and on site it is $12. Of course, it's a little higher, right? Now, for the remaining car shows, the fees for pre-registering a car and registering a car on site were more than 10 and 12 respectively. So now, look, now after whatever, n could be whatever number of years, I don't know, let's say these are the n years. For n years, this was the fees and then the fees increased. So maybe this 10 became 11 and this 12 became 14 or something, I don't know, whatever it is. But essentially the fees increased after that, right? And so for these years, the fees had increased. Okay. Now, but of course, the pre-registration fees is given to be less than the on-site registration fee, right? Okay. And now, do we see the table, right? You have the year-over-year number of cars pre-registered, number of cars registered on-site, total cars registered. So essentially, that should be the sum of these two, pre-registered and on-site registration. And I see that it is, right? 6 plus 10 is 16, 9 plus 21 is 30. So I know that this is total cars registered and total revenue from registration. So that will be the sum of the registration revenue from these 6 cars as well as from these 10 cars. So these 6 will be registered at $10 and these 10 will be registered at $12. So that total 6 into 10 plus 10 into 12 will give me 180, which it does, right? 60 plus 120 gives me 180. So the entire table makes sense to me. Yeah. Okay. Now, for each statement, select yes if it can be determined from the information provided that the statement is true. Otherwise, select no. Now, for each statement, they're saying select yes if it can be determined from the information given that the statement is true. So essentially, what they're telling you is that the 3 given statements are true. Now, you have to tell me whether you can determine that they are true from the table given, right? And from the data given. So again, you don't have to, they have already told you that the statements are true. The given statement is true. But the point is whether you can determine it or not, if it can be determined from the information given. Yeah. All right. So let's look at the first statement. If for exactly one of the years, 2000 through 2013, exactly one of the years, there was steady rain from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening, on the day of the car show, that year was most likely 2004. So here is my 2004. I have 30 pre-registered cars. I have 8 on-site registered cars, and I see that, look at over here, number of cars registered on site, they are much higher normally in every year. Do we see that? Yeah, they are much higher in every year, but except for 2004, it is just 8. So look, 30 is as expected, right? The number is increasing as expected. Perhaps, a few more people register. There are some changes in Britain, doesn't really matter. So essentially, this is as expected. In every year, cars registered on site were much more than the ones which were pre-registered. We are told that people didn't want to take that risk. What if it is raining, right? But only 8 cars were registered on site in 2004. Then, in case there was one year when it was raining from 7 in the morning, the car show starts at 9. If it is raining at 7 in the morning, I already know that I shouldn't go to the car show because it's raining, so it's not going to be useful, right? So which year, they're saying that which year that year was most likely 2004. I do have data for that, right? So I can determine this, right? So yes, so essentially I'll select yes if it can be determined. So I can determine it. So for the first one, I'm going to select yes. Yeah. Now, what is possible? For example, when could I have selected no over here? Think about that for a moment. When could I have said that I cannot determine it from the data? So for example, in case this number was also 60 instead of 8 over here, this was also 60, and essentially then, this reflected this. Here there was 90, and then essentially, of course, the revenue also reflected it. Then there wouldn't have been any data that would have told me that 2004 was the year of rain. Makes sense? If it would have not had this value which is very different from other values, then I would not have had the data to say that 2004 was the year of rain. In that case, I would have selected cannot be determined. Makes sense? Yeah. All right. So this is first is yes. Let's go on to the next one. The pre-registration and on-site registration fees for the car show in 2006 were more than they were for the car show in 2005. So I know that for the first 10 years, the pre-registration and registration fees were 10 and 12. So they are saying that the year of change was from 2005 to 2006. Do I have data for this or not? Can I find this or not? What is given to me? I'm given the total revenue from registrations. I can easily find this whether this was the year of change. How? If I say 32 into 10 plus 60 into 12, right? This would give me 1040. It will give me this figure, whatever it is. And since I know that this statement is true, so 32 into 10 plus 60 into 12 will give me 1040. And 28 into 10 plus 67 into 12 will give me something much less than 1341. I know that I have the data to find that 2006 was the year of change. Alternatively, I can just do, in case you do want to, have a rough calculation, you can just say 1040 divided by 92, you will get something in between 10 and 12. If you say 1341 divided by 95, you will get something much greater. It'll be greater than 12. Yeah. So your data will tell you you have enough data. For example, this total revenue of from registrations was not given to me. Then I would not have had enough data, right? Then I would have said cannot be determined. But I have this data given to me. That means I can make the calculation. Do I actually want to make the calculation? I'm not going to do that. It's going to waste my time. I have only 2 minutes to do it, right? But I can see that I have enough data to answer the question. So for the second one also, my answer is going to be yes. I have enough data. Yeah. Look at the third one. The year with the greatest average revenue per car registered was 2010. So now it is saying the greatest revenue per car registered. How will I calculate that? How do I get this term of revenue per car registered? The greatest average revenue. Average revenue per car registered will simply be the total revenue divided by the total cars registered. Total revenue divided by the total cars registered. Blah blah blah. Right? So in case I find this division for each, then I'll be able to say that yes, 2010 was the year which had the greatest revenue per car registered. Guys, now do you need to do this calculation? Think about it. Your question is saying can be determined. Don't get lost. It's not saying must be true or whether it is true or not. It is saying can you determine. On top of it, on top of that, they have given you that the statement is true. They are just asking, do you have enough data to prove that yes, it is true. I have enough data. I can simply do the division for each, and then I'll find that it is 2010. The 2010 was the year which had the greatest revenue per total car registered. So I'll simply look at this. I'll say yes. I'll mark it, and I'll just move on. Will I do all the calculation? It's absolutely not required. Does that make sense? I will not do a single calculation over here. I know I have all the data. I can see the data to do the calculation. But will I actually do it? I'll not do it, obviously. Does that make sense? Are we good with this? Tell me if there are any doubts here.